I'm going to call this town hall meeting. I think we call it the session. I'd like to point out and mention a couple of things that I think have been touched on today, maybe in the paper some. This council, I understand, would have the right to change the charter. Correct me if I'm wrong, on the method of ward representation. We think that's worthy of a vote. We think that affects some 25,000 registered voters in the city. And I don't think that our 7 votes should decide it. It's the kind of issue that the voters should decide. Second, we could have voted to have a referendum and could have constructed wording for a referendum and set a date without a petition. But if we ever go down that road, we will be having to defend any time we demand a petition. So I think it's very appropriate that the bar was set by people decades and decades ago, not by this present council. And I think it's very important that we follow that law. We have said a couple of times tonight, this meeting is about setting the date and the wording of the resolution in an open forum. We have done some drafting because we wanted to have blessings from the people in, I guess we've got blessings. The State Board of Elections hasn't weighed in on it, right? But the Talbot County Board of Elections has okayed it. And the people at the Institute of Government have okayed it. We thought that would save us a lot of trouble rather than having a meeting and starting with 0 and coming up with something that perhaps would be detailed. I hope you'll agree that the wording we selected is completely neutral. And I hope you'll believe that it allows a person who walks into the voting booth that day who has never seen this issue until they decided to vote at the last minute to make a decision on the issue. With that, I'm going to call people to come forward. We're going to ask that you limit your comments to 3 minutes. Time will be called, as it has been already tonight. We ask that we consider the purpose of this meeting. The town hall meeting will be held later for the subject purpose of discussing the merits of one system versus the other. No cheering, no jeering. I don't know what side any person is going to be on or speaking, but no cheering or jeering from either side. Let people say use their constitutional right, and rights guaranteed under our charter and the state of North Carolina. They get to speak, we get to listen. With that, I'll call the first name, Lynn Spees.
Good evening, Mayor and council persons. There's a prominent model for the manner of representation proposed by the Citizens for Equity in Government. It is the Congress of the United States of America. North Carolina has senators who are expected to have the interests of the nation in heart. However, we expect that only the citizens of North Carolina will elect them. We would not accept having the citizens of New York or Nebraska to cast votes for our senators. By the same token, I think citizens of the ward deserve to have their own councilperson. City Council could make the change with a simple majority vote of the members and save the city the cost of a special election. I would encourage you to take that move. Thank you.
Charlotte Williams.
I guess I'm going to piggyback on what Dr. Spees said in terms of different models we currently have. As a member and a fellow elected official on the Hickory City School Board, that model represents what the citizens here, most of the citizens here are asking for in terms of their representation. This Hickory City School Board has 7 representatives. I'm actually the at-large member, so I am voted by the whole city, but we as a school board work together. I don't think there's going to be any argument to say that if we do elect our council people differently, there would be less unity. We work together for the good of the whole school district, but there are unique specific issues related to constituents in different neighborhoods and districts, and I think we owe it to this community to be able to represent fully your different areas and to have your constituents vote for you. So I fully support referendum and hope that you will support it as well.
Could I ask, I'm going to depart from normal protocol of this. Do you have a problem with the date or the wording of the referendum?
No.
Dr. Spees, do you have a problem with the date or the wording of the referendum?
I haven't read the referendum. I don't have a problem. Let's read it.
We don't have a
We
date.
post it up here?
Yeah.
Talk about the date, yeah.
That's what we're talking about.
So that's the full resolution, which is difficult to read. The handouts are out there. You want to read that?
Read that.
Yeah, there's hard copy handouts out there that everybody can get. Some of the copies that everybody
Just read the ballot wording part. The rest is just a lot of whereases and establishing the authority for a referendum. But somebody will hand me their copy. I'll read
We've got a timeline of deadline we've got to meet. We've got to coordinate with the Board of Elections, City Council meetings, and try to accommodate the citizens group to make sure we're all on the same page and do that as quickly as possible. And you can argue the merits one way or the other at a later time, but we need to talk about the wording of the resolution. And I will tell you that Ms. Abdullah and I met together, got the law books out, looked at the timeline, drafted what we consider to be the fairest resolution for putting ourselves in anybody's shoes, and asked the Institute of Government to look at it and bless it and see if it was okay, and they have done that. So the resolution that we've drafted is, and I will read the pertinent part, and that is the part that goes on the ballot. And then we need to talk about the date that we need to try to have this election. And I will tell you that we have looked at the calendar, we discussed with the Board of Election what their preferred date is, and we'll do that after we go over the resolution. But the wording of the ballot is going to be as follows. One, currently the City of Hickory Charter provides that City of Hickory council members are nominated by voters of their individual wards and elected by all voters of the city. Number two, a petition to initiate a referendum to amend the City of Hickory Charter and have council members elected only by voters of their individual wards has been filed by at least 10% of the voters registered to vote in city elections and certified by the Catawba County Board of Elections. As such, Hickory City Council must call a special election on the question of adopting an ordinance to amend the charter. Ballot question. Shall the ordinance to have council members elected only by voters of their individual wards be approved? Yes or no? that's the pertinent language that will appear on the ballot. Again, our marching orders and our job is to try to come up with something that everybody says, that sounds fair and reasonable, and presents the issue succinctly, and is not stated in the negative, and is as straightforward as we could get it. So that's the language we came up with. That's the language that we discussed with people a lot smarter than me at the Institute of Government, and felt like that was fair and reasonable for all parties concerned. Anybody that wants to vote one way or the other, that's got the meat and potatoes of the issue. So that's the proposed language that goes on the ballot. And
this meeting in no way is mandated by state law or our charter. We wanted to have this meeting so that everyone would be able to say they had a chance to be heard as to the date and the wording of this resolution.
I also want to point out to me by Ms. Dooley that part of our job is to make sure that the ballot language tracks and is consistent with the requirements of North Carolina General Statute 168-105. And that's what, in my opinion, we've done here. And I would, and by the way, we sent this to who we were told was a key contact person for the citizens group. And I was hoping that everybody had a chance to look at this, or if not, have a chance to look at it tonight. And it wasn't in the newspaper. We tried to get it to them as quickly as we could.
Dr. Spees, have you had a chance to read it?
I just did. The only thing that I see it's a little at odds with the facts is that it says must call a special election, because the other choice is to go ahead and vote on it. In 1967, it was changed by vote of council, and it can be done.
We're here because a referendum petition was filed and approved and certified.
It requires that we must.
That's what the law says. And we've got to do it within certain time frames that it's got to be more than 60 days, but less than 120 days, but it cannot conflict with the timeline for the general election within a certain time before that. So our window of opportunity is pretty much September the 18th, which I think is a Tuesday, September the 25th, which is a Tuesday, and October the 2nd.
And I'm not certain. I'm not talking about it as a lawyer here, too. But this petition was presented to us, and that wording, although we believe we captured entirely the spirit of that petition in this referendum, if we act on that petition without calling for a referendum, which was the purpose of the petition, then someone could accuse us of interpreting what the petitioners wanted. So I think it is correct. We must call a referendum in response to that petition.
Correct.
Mr. Joe Brannock?
I'll just add one thing. I believe the window of opportunity, as stated by Mr. Hood at the Board of Elections meeting twice, is actually September the 1st through August or October the 7th.
Why don't you come forward like the other people, okay?
He stated the window of opportunity is September the 1st through October the 7th or 6th, I believe. That it could be on any day. I know that was another point that he made, was the special election could be on any day. Y'all, I guess, honed in on Tuesdays, which, it seems like the natural thing to do since we typically have elections on Tuesdays. The Board of Elections Chairman, Mr. Hood, you could hold this as early as September the 4th, if you want to stick to the Tuesday schedule. That would give you an increased cost because of setup time. They would have to overtime and stuff like that in preparing on Labor Day. But September the 4th was the first day that you could hold. They, and this was an editorial note from Mr. Hood, that the Board of Elections preference, as stated by them, was September the 11th or September the 18th. The first week of October was an absolute, last preference on their part.
Let me explain that process. We cannot have this election within 30 days of the general election. It has to be more than 45 days. 45? From the referendum. 60 days?
60 from the petition.
Tuesday is election day. Okay. That was an assumption. Tuesday's election day. Everybody knows. Tuesday's what you do. So the first date we could choose that was totally non-subjective. It gave people the maximum amount of time. It was on a Tuesday, and it was not too close to the general election. That was October the 2nd. That's what we went with, and that's what we presented to you tonight. Today, we received a letter from David Hood of the Board of Elections, asking us to consider a date closer to the middle of September. Now, early voting is going to start on this on the 29th of August. Okay? So it's not like you don't get to vote until September the 18th. But then, September the 18th is the only non-subjective date. That's the closest date to the middle of September, which the Board of Elections requested.
Well, and I'll also tell you that in the interest of fully disclosing to everybody, including working with the Board of Elections and the Citizens Group, I called David Hood and said, we've been looking at a time, when I say we, I'm talking about Ms. Doodle and I, looking at times, and looks like October 2nd would be a good day. And he said, well, that's not good for us. That's too close to the general election, and that would be burdensome on us. So I talked to him today, and he followed up with an email that said that their preferred date would be September the 18th if you wanted or needed to go to September 25th, I understand, but October 2nd date is just too close for us to the November election.
So we go back to his letter that said the closest we could get to the middle of September. That's September the 18th.
So, I mean, in my opinion, it's the 18th or the 25th would be the two dates that we have the.
And we wanted to have this meeting so we could explain in a transparent setting exactly what the rationale was for that.
So, Mr. Mayor, just to clarify, because I want to make sure I heard you correctly. If September 8th is the day of the election, 18th, I'm sorry, is the day of the election, early voting would begin August 30th. That's what you were saying before, right?
I was thinking August 29th.
So I think August 30th is the third Thursday.
We think that's the case. If we're wrong on that, we apologize. Early voting will start the earliest possible legal election.
And you also have to get absentee ballots out. And I'm not speaking for the Board of Election, and I don't know exactly what those timelines are, but I'm just trying to work with them and let you all know what their desire is and try to accommodate everyone in this room, all the citizens of Hickory and the Board of Election, and the mayor and the council.
Mr. Jimmy Davis. Mr. Brannock, do you agree with the wording and the date?
Yes. Can I just ask one question though? Tonight, are y'all voting to approve the language and the date together? Will it be two separate votes? And will this be considered a second reading so that the information will be forwarded to the Board of Elections at their next meeting next week?
We're not even certain that we're going to vote tonight.
Okay, that's fine.
Because if there are issues raised that we think warrant
Right.
further attention, we're going to give it further attention.
Right.
We have time to get this right.
Okay.
So we want to get it right. So, Mr. Davis.
Good evening. there is a widespread geographical support of true ward voting. Registered voters from all 6 wards and every precinct in the city of Hickory have signed this petition. I encourage Hickory City Council to adopt the true ward system with their vote and save the city the cost of a special election. Thank you.
Mr. Davis, do you agree with the date? If we have this referendum vote, do you agree with the date and the vote?
Yes, we have to study that, and we'll, my group will look at that as a group.
Mr. Larry Pope.
Mr. Mayor, when you say, do you agree with the date and the language, are we at the October 2nd date, or are we at the September 18th?
September the 18th.
We're at the September, we agree with that.
Are you speaking for other people, or did you say?
I'll speak with about these four people right
You're not including Larry Clark in that, are you, Joe? I mean, you know.
Mr. Mayor, City Council, thank you for allowing me the opportunity to speak and be heard. I am one who has no problems with the language of that is to go on the ballot in this, but I do have a problem with the date. My preference, as I have talked to a lot of people in the community and across the city, from every ward that I have been in touch with, is that the earlier the better. So I would be in favor of September 18th. It's the date that I think would be the best to hold this election. Thank you.
Mr. Cliff Moone.
Mr. Mayor, council members, Mr. Perry, out of respect for the fact that we've been asked to talk about the date and the language, let me just say a couple of quick things. Mr. Crone, in response to something you said earlier, the only thing that I know that the Citizens for Equity in Government would have preferred is that, and I appreciate the fact that it was sent to them, would have been involved at least at a level of discussion when it was being done. But I personally, and I think many, I can't speak for everybody that's been involved in this petition process, but the language is good. It's a good language, and y'all did an excellent job in doing that. So I want to commend you on the language you did. We had asked that the process involve somebody from Citizens for Equity in Government earlier. So that was the only thing. On the date, again, I was very unclear when we started this meeting what date you all were preferring. It looked like from word that I gotten that October the 2nd was going to be the preferred date, and I did not think that that was appropriate because of the closeness to the general election, and I knew from talking to the Board of Elections that that was a greater expense to them. And obviously, the 4th of September is a bad time for a lot of reasons, actually, and so I would be personally in favor of the 18th. I think it's a good date. It gives you all time to do some planning. I do want to ask a quick question, and if you can answer this. In the previous City Council meeting, just before this meeting, you indicated that there would be forum for discussing, debating the pros and the cons of this thing. Are you all committed to that process? Because you were the only one who spoke to that.
I said there will be various forums.
Right.
I said I will support and ask for support of a town hall meeting here to discuss the pros and cons of the issue.
But you all have not decided on that yet. Exactly.
That,
well, I would. Excuse me.
I just don't want to bring it on everyone tonight.
No, and you brought it.
I saw the number of people interested in talking and the number of people here. I said, we always have a town hall meeting.
And many of us were prepared to talk one way or the other on this, of course, as you obviously know. I would just strongly urge you to have at least a town hall meeting that you all establish. I do agree. Ask Danny Hearn in the Chamber of Commerce to sponsor one. I know that Carolyn Jones Connor was here earlier and that the League of Women Voters, I really strongly urge you that I think we need multiple places to have the citizens of Hickory, now that this petition has been successful and brought before you, to discuss this. And I'd be strongly in favor of getting that citizen input. Hope you will be too. Thank you.
Natalie Carroll. Margaret Pope. Steve Ivester. Oh, I'm sorry. Oh, I'm
There's
sorry.
Margaret's coming.
You were sitting over here a while ago.
I know, I moved to the end. Good evening, how are you? I'm Margaret Pope, as you know, a resident of Hickory. I was prepared to speak on the pro side, but since we're not going to do that, I'll just say that I agree with the wording of the ballot, and I also agree with the date of September 18th. I think that would be the most perfect time. Okay. I was just saying that I do agree with the wording of the ballot, and I do agree that September the 18th would be the most preferable time. We'll be past a lot of other things that will be going on, and, you know, good time before the November elections. Mr. Lell and I have had this conversation, and there are pros and cons, and I agree with Cliff, I do hope that we will be able to have town meetings for more discussion. Thank you.
Steve Ivester.
Steve Ivester, 910 14th Avenue Northwest, Hickory. Thank you for seeking public input. I think we've had some recent times that you might have been better advised to have public input. Someday we'll see it completed. I had a conversation with Larry Brewer today. I read your call, and I'm saying right now to your call on the date. I talked with Larry Brewer, and I like seeing this letter that Mr. Hood has written. Joe said it was the September the 1st to October the 7th. Well, Tuesday, September the 4th is the day after Labor Day. Thursday, September the 6th seemed to me like a good day. And I think you should consider doing this earlier rather than later. So as an alternate to the 18th, I would suggest September the 6th. But just going on through the process, Tuesday, September the 11th, I think too many people have bad associations with 9/11, and we shouldn't be having public elections on that time. And Thursday, September the 13th, well, some people have a little problem with 13th, so I wouldn't say the 13th. But I would urge you to consider the 6th because have this earlier. I think both sides have been campaigning on this issue. I think it's been well discussed. I think November the 6th, everybody's going to be immersed in the national elections, the state elections, and regional elections. So I think we need to do this sooner rather than later. I think we need candidates for next July for the city council. I have been so disappointed. And in July, we'll have Ms. Patton and Mr. Guest and Ms. Fox up for re-election, and yourself, Mr. Mayor. In 2011, Mr. Lale, Mr. Seaver, and Mr. Meisner ran unopposed. Now, I'm sitting in my home saying, I don't like the way things are going in this city. And I was just flabbergasted that nobody ran. I tried to get people to run. In 2009, we had Mr. Hips running against Ms. Patton. Mr. Mayor was uncontested. And we had Mr. Guest running against Ms. Hoyle, and he won. Ms. Fox was uncontested. In 2007, Mr. Lale ran against Mr. Willingham.
Are you happy with the wording of this resolution?
I am. I'm arguing why we need to do this sooner. We need to do this sooner because we need to have candidates for July in 2013.
Now, I'm not a lawyer, but I'm not sure if that follows.
What does that have to do with the wording of the date?
I'm arguing for an earlier date rather than a later date.
You've analyzed this very thoroughly, and I appreciate that, but I don't think it follows.
Well, I think it does. But if you want to terminate
Now,
my
you can finish your 3 minutes.
okay, plus whatever delay it was. So we've had these elections, and either the incumbents have been elected, except in the case of Ms. Guest or Ms. Patton, and those were kind of special circumstances. We need to erase the apathy in this city when it comes to city council. I don't know that this change would be better, but we need a change. We need new fresh blood. We need fresh ideas. I look at Statesville, Valdez, Conover, Mooresville, and I say Hickory doesn't have to be stuck where it is. And so I urge you to do this sooner. I would urge September the 6th, September the 18th seems acceptable. Thank you.
Janice Johnson? Oh, I'm sorry, Teresa Norris.
Well, I wanted to come and speak and ask you to go ahead and vote, to go ahead so that we didn't have to have a general election, but it seems like that isn't going to come up, and that isn't what the city council is going to do. But I would urge that we continue to have the wording as it is and to have the vote earlier rather than later.
So earlier than September the 18th?
Yes.
And Ms. Johnson? Janice Johnson, Walter Witherspoon are on the same list, on the same block.
Good evening. I would just like to say that I also agree that we should have the election earlier than later, and September 18th is a good date in my opinion. Thank you.
Walter Witherspoon.
Walter Witherspoon, 498 17th Avenue, Northeast. I agree with the date and the wording, and I have one comment. I'm in pursuit of a representative democracy. You hear me? A representative democracy is what I'm in pursuit of. That means everybody's supposed to speak.
I think with a couple of exceptions, we had people agree on the date, and I think everybody agreed on the wording.
I didn't say that. I said I do agree. Did you hear me?
You said you did? Yeah, you said you agreed.
Good, okay. I've said enough.
I think everyone agreed on the wording, and we had 2 or 3 saying that, I don't know, guys, I feel strongly that we ought to have it on the Tuesday.
I just want to reiterate that according to David Hood, the Board of Elections preferred date would be September the 18th.
Of course, with all due respect to the great job they do, we have a mission to carry out that has nothing to do with their preferences. However, they do a good job, we appreciate them very much. But I would suggest, if you all agree, well, I'd make a motion that we go to September the 18th.
Before we do, Mr. Mayor, have we run by that list, and if they ask if there's anyone here that else
All
to
right,
speak?
sorry. Is there anyone else who would like to speak who is not spoken? Yes, sir.
Good evening. My name is Don Baldwin. You've probably seen my name in the paper a couple times. And thank you, Mayor, for the help of charter.
What's that?
Thank you for the help of charter. But I just want to say that I did have trepidations when first this issue came up about who would decide on the wording. And I'm very satisfied with the wording, the way that it's very succinct, it's very fair, it's very obvious, and we have our choices on that. I thank you for that. The date, I'm retired. But thank you for doing this and accepting it and working with the citizens.
Thank you, Mr. Bob. Anyone else who wants to speak?
Yes.
Yes.
Mayor, City Council, citizens of Hickory, residents. I'd just like to reiterate cost effective. If we could keep it cost effective, you guys can vote tonight. Make a decision as soon as possible. I am agreeing with the dates. That's fine with me. The reason why I'm saying cost effective in our area, representation, we show a recreation facility too. And I like to use that money to get a pool back at Ridgefield. You can. Thank you.
Is there anyone else who desires to speak? Okay, I think I heard everyone say the wording was okay, and 1 or 2 people said maybe an earlier date. The council has no objection. I would make a motion to go with the wording and the date of September the 18th and proceed to give both sides an opportunity to get prepared on what they will know is the ballot issue.
I'll second the motion.
Can I interject a second? Are you saying that you want to adopt a resolution that stipulates the date and the language now?
Adopt that resolution. Motion by Wright, second by Lael. Any discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. Folks, thank you all. This has been a wonderful exercise in democracy. It's been respectful. Motion to adjourn.